Scott Withers joins the MindSide for Ep.7. Enjoy this conversation about the mental side of disc golf. Scott Withers is brought to you by Clash Discs, AGL Discs, and Grip Equipment.
All right, welcome to the MindSide. We got Scott Withers, Oregon Zone. We've known each other for a few years.
Yeah.
Together a few times, not for a while. You've been very successful in disc golf while managing a career as well.
Yeah.
And that is very difficult, to say the least. As somebody who's tried to do the same thing, adding kids to the mix. But how do you manage everything that you've got going?
Well, anyone that's kind of I guess followed me for the last little bit knows that I took essentially like a year and a half off work and went on the road full time. And that was fun and challenging at the same point. But I think over the course of that a little bit, I kind of lost the love for the game. And it had always kind of been like, I'd go to work and that was something that I could focus my energy on. And then also I had this other thing on the side, which, had some success in the disc golf world and was able to win quite a few events and have some decent finishes on the big stage. But it was always the secondary thing. It was always I can go have fun with this because it kind of isn't work. So I will say some self-reflection and everything over the last year or so is how much I loved playing and how much I didn't mind the travel and everything. And then when it's all you're doing, it kind of takes a different twist on things. But now I'm back to my job at the Boys and Girls Club, running all our after school programs and everything. So it kind of gives me a different avenue to use some of the productive energy I have during the day and sneak in an hour and a half of practice most days or some days or whatever it may be. But then I've just found I went back to work in July. I found that I'm really enjoying playing again, and the pressure kind of got taken off. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but towards the end of our MPO career, we're playing with a lot of kids at this point. So if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then it's time to fully step away from it. But right now I'm having a blast with it. So I think that's kind of where I'm at.
For sure. So what keeps you moving? What motivates you to continue getting better, as you get to the end of your MPO career and these kids are throwing, and dude, you throw a ton yourself and they're throwing how much further than you,
Yeah, I don't know.
ridiculous.
I always tease them back and forth because I'm like, if we take the radar gun out, they got me by 7 miles an hour, but we throw the same distance. Obviously not the top few guys, right? The
Sure.
Anthony McColes and kids like that, or the Eagles that just throw it a mile past you. But the normal pro distance, I always kind of joke with them. Kevin Jones is one of my favorite to joke with because we played a few years ago together at the Fling and they had a radar gun on us and he was getting me by 6 or 7 miles per hour, but we were throwing the same distance. I was like, you gotta learn to spin it. You gotta learn to keep it in the air. Motivation wise, I don't know. I think it's just so much of a part of my life, and it has been. I mean, this. We played together probably for the first time 12 years ago. We could look it up, but it was a long time ago. It just kind of gets engraved into your life, and it kind of becomes what you do and who you are. And I think everyone in their life strives to be really good or great at something, and this was kind of the path and the avenue that I took, and was just lucky to find something that I love doing at the same time as I don't hate the negative things like the driving everywhere and, the lots of nights away from home trying to figure it out. So I think the motivation just comes from the desire to be really good at something. And this is kind of what I latched onto. And now it's such a part of my life that it's part of who I am. It's part of what I do. And you just go through the day to day and enjoy the practice and enjoy the grind. And then obviously we've all made incredible friendships out of it, and getting to go see a lot of your best friends in the world on the weekends when you go, no matter where they live, is kind of that's a big motivating factor too.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess how would you explain your approach? You have an interesting approach to the mental side of the game, I will say. How would you explain your mental approach when you're in a round? How do you manage your mind?
I mean, we all grew up playing different sports or doing different activities. And I think being able to translate learning from ball golf at a young age over to disc golf as we've got older, like, of course, everyone in their young 20s and stuff gets more emotional, gets more, the highs are high, right? Or crazy high, and the lows are crazy low, and you beat yourself up about it. But I think mental game on the course for me, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and I just started like getting into some of the psychology of golf and why different, like, professional golfers all have mental game coaches too, right? It's not just physical game coaches. Like, your swing is one thing, and in disc golf your swing is one thing, but also being able to control emotions on the course, being able to have the right like mindset to go into a round is just as important, or probably once you get to the level that we're at, more important than the physical gifts that you have in the day. Because if you have the ability to grind out rounds that aren't going well, or just enjoy the little things, even when it's not your day or whatever, like, it can keep you coming back. So mentally, for me, I just try to, like, every round, every hole is a new thing. Don't let things linger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you throw 5 or 6 bad ones in a row, obviously you've got to try something else. And maybe it's just sitting back. And I think a book that I read years ago was called Zen Golf, and I don't remember who the author was
Mm-hmm.
at this point, but it talked about like how to enjoy the surroundings that you're in when it's not necessarily like time to throw your shot. And there's a lot of professional golfers that have talked. This guy was like a mental game coach for a lot of pros or professional golfers, and it just talked about like Jack Nicklaus saying only to focus for 5 to 10 seconds at a time. To not, you're going to wear yourself crazy if you're trying to like be fully engaged into what's going on during a 3.5 hour round, or in golf a little longer than that. So it's being able to find things to occupy your mind that are positive, kind of in between the shots. But then when it's time to step up and focus, like you have your pre-shot routine, you go through it. But they even mentioned little things that I really took out of that, which was like, look at your surroundings. We get to play disc golf in some of the most beautiful places in the Northwest. Like, you're at Whistler's Bend, you're at Milo McGyver. Heck, you might, Shelton Springs, whatever. You might be anywhere in the Northwest, and we're outside. And as long as it's not pouring rain on us, like, look up and listen to the sounds that are going on around you. Maybe see the bird that's in the tree next to you. Maybe just kind of let your mind wander into other places. And that's been a big help for me in the last 5 years, is like, just, you don't have to be focused the whole time, and you're going to have a lot more enjoyable of a day. And you're probably going to play a lot better if your mind's not completely worn out 20 minutes into a, 7 or 8 hour day if you're playing 2 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mental energy it's valuable. You have to save as much of it as you possibly can. And I really learned that. Now, I got really into playing poker when I first started getting decent at disc golf. And I just found that if you're trying to pay attention to every single thing, you just get mentally fatigued to the point where you can't even think right. And then same thing on the disc golf course. The first time I shot 1,000 rated round was because the T signs had the whole averages on them, and I knew what the whole average was. So I was like, okay, it's average, it was at CTAC OG18. So I was like, okay, this whole average is a 3.6. If I get a 3, obviously I'm gaining a ton. And I paid attention. And yeah. But after that round, I was done. And we had one more round to play, but I was just like so focused. And yeah, that just made me realize that, okay, something needs to be done. And yeah, it's crazy how, mental energy, you have to save it, basically, is the point.
Well, we play with, for the most part, especially in the Northwest, and I mean, this, and you guys obviously moved to Arizona, and I've heard you move back up. But you're generally playing with people that you really like. and people that you get along with off the course. I know, especially in our Oregon crew, when I'm playing local stuff, you play with the same people so often at the top of the division that you become friends with them. And we were just at Jeff Korn's wedding last week, but half of the people that are there are all disc golfers that I'm playing with week in and week out. And it's cool to see your friends drive from Portland or drive from Eugene or wherever. And we all met over in Bend. So it's a couple hours away from all of us. But that is the group that you get to know really well and you become friends with. And it makes it where maybe Chris kicks my butt one week, Chris Nelson or whatever, or you, if I'm up there or whatever. But maybe Chris Nelson kills me one week or Cole kills me one week. But then if we're all home 2 weeks later, we're doing the same thing again. It doesn't help to be mad at someone because they beat you or be mad at yourself because someone beat you. We're going to battle again in a couple weeks. We might as well enjoy it. And we're all going to play better if we just keep pushing each other. And all of that starts up here. It's got very little to do with physical game.
Yeah, definitely. And the players up here, just the players who have just stayed local are top tier. You've got to shoot, 10 pushing 1040s to get a trophy.
Oh, you don't win. I mean, there's rare courses, right? We played a tournament at McCormick in A tier a few weeks ago that it was 10-10. I was mind blown that's what it took to win. But that's just because 880 rated players are shooting only 2 shots worse than FPO players. But that's a course specific thing.
I've done that a couple times.
1040, there's no chance. You're not. Someone's shooting 1040 that weekend if the whole field's there. That's it. That's all there is to it. So you don't get to play bad and sneak into anything anymore.
No, you don't. Well, and yeah, it's been that way for a while because you've been around Crabtree's up here, and Chandler's been around. People who are, Chris Nelson.
Yeah, it goes back to the
rattling off names,
right?
Yeah, Dion, Feldberg, and Avery.
Yeah,
you want to go that far, and even up here, guys like Mike Worth. Keep going. There's been people up here that have been pushing the game for a long time, and I don't know that a lot of the people get the recognition that they really deserve because the tour's not coming up here. Well, it
even
came
less now.
What?
Even less now. Next year, the schedule's awful for us. I mean, we're gonna be at Shelton again. It sounds like, but for this
okay.
or we don't even really know what it is yet. And then we have 2 events in Portland, but that's the whole West Coast swing essentially.
Right.
It's rough national wise to get recognition if you're not traveling. But your Kyle's and your guy, Kyle's won at that time national tour. I believe it was the Kansas City Wide Open years ago.
Yep.
No one knows who Kyle is because he doesn't do the social media thing. He's got his family. That's what he's focused on, his kids' baseball and stuff. And rightfully so. He's doing it the right way if you're not going to be on tour or whatever. But that guy can beat anyone any given day.
Yeah. I would have put him top 5 in the world at one point. Yeah. Maybe even higher.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to play against. I want to hang out with Kyle because I like him, but I don't want to watch him just fillet mid-ranges down gaps. It makes me feel terrible when I'm spraying it sideways. I'm I can't play pier with you. I need to go find some hyzer courses.
Yeah, for sure. Something wide open. Well, even you can turn it on. But so I'm going to cut that part out. So when we have played, I have noticed that you will use tough love a lot of the times to motivate yourself to, get it going. Is that something? And even if you're shooting hot, there's been times where it's you'll freaking hit a tree or miss a putt or whatever, and then you'll get on yourself. And it's dude, Scott, you're winning by 4. Shut up. But so I guess explain a little bit of that use of the tough love on yourself and what's the thought behind that?
It's definitely went away a lot in the last few years. As you grow up, right, you mature and become less emotional just on the course and as a player or whatever. But I think it's being competitive for one, and everyone at the top of the game is, right. There's very few of us I'm not going to put myself in that category with like the Pauls and the Rickies and them or whatever, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
There's very few people at the top of the game that aren't going to be that competitive, and the self-talk is happening. It's just whether it's verbally or whether it's in their head, or good days or bad days. And as you become better, you have less bad days, whatever. I think for me, it's always been the expectation. Like, I want to execute every shot I throw, because we may be playing local B tier. And obviously, like, we're all trying to win. We're all trying to have a good weekend. But the goal is to not just win that weekend, but also continue to advance your game and continue to prepare yourself for bigger events. And there's been times where I've been mad at myself on the course, and I might be up by 4, I might be up by 8 or something. And it's just one of those things where, like, I know that, yes, it's going fine this weekend, but those mistakes can't happen if your goal is to win a pro tour event, or if your goal is to, become one of the 10 or 15 best in the world. And I would say in the last 2 years, it's going on tour humbled me a lot, because you realize, like, you're not going to cash in every event anymore unless you're one of those top 5 or 10 guys. And realistically, there's a few guys that are in their upper 30s that are doing that, but most of these guys are, in your prime of 22 to, let's say, 33 or whatever. Those are the guys that are really at the top of their game. And you've seen players, even Nate's cash streak, he's the most solid player I've ever seen, if not spectacular.
And we didn't even mention him when we were mentioning Northwest disc golfers. But
Yeah.
There you go. There's another one.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot in the last couple of years in terms of, like, how to deal with not being the best or having a chance to be the best on a course. And I think that's humbled me a little bit and just kind of brought, like, the emotions down. But also, the self-talk is there for all of us. It's just some people are more vocal than others. It's always, for me, been like, I can deal with physical mistakes. The mental mistakes are the ones that get to me a little more, because if I'm like, why did I try that? I was never going to pull that off. Like, that's a huge mental mistake. Those are the things now that bother me a little more. And that might be where you hear me like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you can't make that mistake, right?
Sure.
Like, that's the mental game part of it. We're all going to make physical mistakes. And if I have the right disc in my hand, try to throw the shot, and I just spray it sideways, like, we're going to make physical mistakes. But now the things that bother me more than anything and the things that I definitely will use that tough love still on, are when I'm trying things that I shouldn't be trying. And, like, then they bite you. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, you didn't need to be Superman in that moment. Like, just throw the normal disc golf shot, go through the motions of playing well and playing smart. And I think those are things that you learn as you get older, but they're tough to deal with when, you're younger and competitive, and you're trying to prove yourself, essentially, that you are the best, or you want to be the best, or whatever. So I think a lot of it, to me, was always just like the expectations of being great or trying to be great, and then learning to deal with the failures even during the round, not just afterwards.
Yeah. So when you were heavy on that tough love, did you find that kind of creeping into, like, other behaviors outside of golf, where you kind of, I don't know, easier to lose temper because of
Not,
the
yeah, not so much. Like, even other sports that I would play, I think the thing about golf and disc golf is you just have so much time up here, right? There's so much time in between thoughts, and there's so much time to be either happy and proud of what you did, or, like, sad and disappointed or upset about what you did. I am, especially off the course, like, super level headed. Like, it just doesn't, I don't have the highs, I don't have the lows. And I would even argue on the course, I don't have a ton of highs. Like, I can get done the day and be proud of how I played or be happy, but I'm not the, like, Nico LaCastro run out the jump putt when you make it guy. But yeah, I think it was just in that moment, there's a lot of learning, especially at younger ages, in terms of how to deal with failure in those sets. And it was never something that I necessarily took off the course with me. And I've always been pretty good about 20 minutes after the round's over. 10 minutes after the round's over. And that's something that I try to teach a lot of the guys that I'm either traveling with or playing a lot with right now is like, when it's done, it's done. Like, you can't fix it. And, you can be upset about how you played, but don't ruin everyone else's day after the round.
Sure.
So, yeah, I would say like off the course, it was never an issue, but it was something that I had to learn how to, not, I don't even want to call it hot-headed, but not be the person that was always negative on yourself on the course and doing it vocally.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of the things that, so you said you just kind of get over it, and then what would you do to get over it? Would you turn it into just, I don't know, because the only way to get over it, I guess, in my mind, is to learn from it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think self-reflection was a big thing. You also, and one of the things that I noticed over the last, handful of years, obviously, you go through different things in life off the course. And it could be relationship things, it could be work related things, it could be school related things, it could be a number of different stressors in your life. And those things don't necessarily show with emotion for me outside of the course. But then I would find it harder at times when things weren't going great off the course to keep the level head on the course, because you care so much about the sport you're playing and you want to be good at it. And then it's like the stressors from other things might get taken out in that environment. So you really have to just step back and learn like, hey, this isn't the end of the world. And it was a big part for me in the last 4 or 5 years of just not getting mad on the course anymore, or definitely not near to the extent I did when I was younger, was being able to understand if I play good today or if I play bad today, it doesn't change the person that I am, and it doesn't change the relationships that I have with other people around me. So don't behave in a way that would, negatively impact someone else and them having a good day or them having a bad day or whatever. Just, be the person that you want to be on the course, that you are off the course, and make sure that those things line up.
mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So what advice would you give somebody? So I think I needed mental golf advice most when I was playing advanced, right? Trying to get up into pro. What would you tell somebody who is looking to make that jump? What do you think that, I guess, what's your
Definitely, when I dug into some literature and some books and stuff from people that are way smarter than I am, and found one or two that I could actually buy into from those golf coaches, like that helped me. But I've never been someone that like reaches out to talk to somebody else about things like that. So just to keep it internal, but like learn from professionals, essentially, that helped for me. But I think there's a lot more resources out there right now. When we started playing pro, I think for me, I never played advanced. So it was 2009. I signed up for the PDGA. I only played pro. I have 0 career tournaments in anything except for MPO. I think that there wasn't help. There was a few like older players around in the area that you could kind of pick their brain for advice or whatever, but the game was still so new at a professional level that there wasn't the examples to kind of learn from or the people to ask questions to. But for new players, especially once you've developed that relationship with like your local pro that has a pretty good mental game, or that's probably the way to do it, is just play with better players that keep cool on the course and study what they're doing and study how they deal with disappointment, because we're all going to throw bad shots and you're not going to win every single event you enter. So it's one of those things, like, don't be scared to ask, like, hey, what are you thinking about after you make a mistake? And now, for me, it's like, I just kind of laugh it off and move on. Some people are really, really good at that. If you can find those people that are, and you can pick their brain about what really does matter to them. Like, I think we have resources now, and as younger players, you have a lot of more developed pros that you can ask to play with, but you got to do it the right way, right? We get requests all the time, like, hey, I'm in the area, do you want to go play around? And most of the time it's going to be like, I don't have time. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but if you can catch me on the time where, like, I don't have a tournament on the weekend, or, obviously I can't do it at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. Like I like when I give lessons, I really do enjoy working with people and giving them the mental side of things, probably more than I do the physical side of things, because I can't fix everything physical. Like
Mhm.
I can try to give you tips, but I can definitely take you on a course and we can go play around together and we can talk about decision making and we can talk about how to create a strategy to give you the best chance to score that you can. So
Mhm.
mental game wise, I guess that brings up a good point. It's like have a strategy going into the round. And even if that's a practice round and you're keeping score and you want it to be your best,
Mhm.
set yourself up for success before the round. Don't go in trying to throw those crazy shots just because you watch somebody else do it. Like you play your game, and
Mhm.
then you're not going to have as many disappointing shots during the round to have to deal with. So I think, yeah, find your local pros, talk to them, especially the ones that have good mental games. Pick their brain about like what they're thinking about during shots, what they're thinking about after shots, what they're thinking about when they're walking down the middle of a fairway 2 minutes before they have to throw the next one. And then set goals for yourself and set reasonable expectations for like rounds that you're playing. Your expectation can't be to go shoot. Shelton's a course that well from being up in the area. When we went to that Pro Tour event, we were worried that people were going to light it up. And guess what? It didn't get lit up. But you
Mhm.
can't go to a course like that and expect to shoot 16 under par from the long tees. Like it's just not, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to shoot 3 over because you're trying to do that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
create a game plan and execute, and then you'll be less disappointment to have to deal with, therefore better mental game.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah. So when it comes to decision making, what do you how do you focus on your decision making?
I think one of the strongest parts of my mental game is choosing the right shot to throw
Mhm.
and not being impacted by the shots that other players throw.
That's
It's
huge.
being able to see what I can do with the disc. And there's going to be things that if we play around together, you're significantly better than I am at. And there's going to be things that I'm significantly better than you at. But it's not trying to match shot for shot the rows that other people on your card are going with. And it's coming in with that game plan and coming in with like what the true decision needs to be on the shot. If it's 350 over water, like if it's backhand, I'm real comfortable. Whatever, I'll just throw a hyzer over it if there's no trees in the way. But just because everyone else on a Pro Tour card can smash a forehand 350 feet over the water, like it's probably not my best bet to try. So come up with a different game plan. And if you need to take a par on a hole, find a way to take a par. Or if you're playing MA2, you need to play for bogey on a hole because you can't get it there. That's a heck of a lot better than taking a double. Like throw the shots that you're confident in, throw the discs that you're confident in, and make sure like that game plan thing that we were talking about, that's probably at least 50% a mental game. It's come in and knowing that you can execute whatever you're trying to throw and find success for yourself, but that doesn't always have to look like success for the next person.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because yeah, if you don't have a plan, how do you know what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Those plans are easier to make on courses that right? Like I don't
Oh, for
formally
sure.
have a plan for like if I go down to Whistler's Bend, I've played that course so many times. I don't need to have a set plan for every single time I go out there. But if I'm playing a course that I've never went to before, yeah, I might write it down, like caddy book it down essentially. We used to do that in golf all the time, and that's something I've kind of translated over to disc golf.
Yeah. Did you play golf in school?
Yeah, I played golf growing up my whole time, played through high school,
Mhm.
started playing on a partial scholarship in college, and then basically just didn't have the money to continue. But I play quite a bit still. I mean, I had an under par round this year. I was pumped about it. We were down in Sacramento or down in Stockton, sorry, for OTB Open. I couldn't practice. My arm was just like we'd played too many holes in a few days, and I just took a day and I went and played with a couple local guys that got paired up with, and one eagle, one bogey. It was the first under round par I'd had in probably since I was like 20 years old. I was I
And
walked into the house. Swear to God, true story. Walked into the house the next day. We were staying with Adam, and I shot the same score on the golf course that I did on the disc golf course the next day at Swenson Park. And I walk in and Adam Hammis goes, "You're legitimately better at golf right now." And I was like, "I know. This is sad." Like I was just having a tough month of disc golf. And Adam
yeah.
just He goes, "You're better at golf right now," and I was like, "I don't want to talk about it."
It's so silly. Yeah. Well, and what a weird way to get under par with an eagle and a bogey.
Yeah, like 280-yard par four, drove it, knocked the putt down, no birdies, and
Yeah.
had one bogey. Like I think it was like 2 holes after that, just like hidden in the woods and couldn't get out or something. Parred 16 holes. Swear to God, no mulligans, no nothing. Just playing some municipal course I'd never been to in Stockton.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's fun. So we're at about 8 minutes. So, well, what you got going? What's next?
I'm running a huge winter series down in Southern Oregon, it's a lot of fun. We have this weekend's event number 2. We have 10 events, 10 AM days and 10 pro days. So they're split up. So we get 80 AMs every single week, sells out every time. And then 50 to 60 pros. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of the guys I grew up with. I'm running San Am Open in January, which is a really big B tier. It's probably the biggest B tier in like the winter time in Oregon. It'll sell out 144 players, 2 courses on a golf course. Super fun. It's in Salem, or roughly in Salem. If anybody wants to jump in, registration opens November 20th for that. But it sells out like super quick. And
Yeah, this might come out in the after the first of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but that's what Scott did do.
Yeah. Post that. I mean, the tour schedule is not doing us on the West Coast any favors for those of us that are working. So I right now and tentatively will probably go to the Memorial because Vegas got moved later in the year. I'm going to go to the Texas swing, at least Austin, because my sister lives down there, probably Waco and Austin, although I'm kind of bummed they're putting 2 courses at Waco. I just kind of want to play the beast and just let it be what it is. But and then I'll play everything on the West Coast, probably sneak 1 or 2 others, go to Worlds, go to US if I qualify, and do like probably I say 8 to 10 elite series and majors next year, but it's definitely not going to be 16 or 18 like it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, that gets tough.
Yeah, work might kill me if I did that.
Sure.
Still sitting here recording this podcast at 7:00 at night.
Oh, you're doing this from work?
Yeah, I'm still at work.
Oh, well, you are a good man, Scott Withers. So I'll let you go home.
No, yeah, totally good. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. Have to get up there, and now that you're back in the area,
yeah. Well, Broston's still in Arizona, so if you go down to the Memorial,
I don't need him.
Down there. He'll probably be playing.
At this point, I don't.
I
said I don't need him beating me at this point.
He might not beat you yet, but yeah, you'll be throwing before him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He played a few bigger events last year and is hanging out with some of the boys, Ty and Cole and them, and it was cool to see him. And I remember playing with him when he was like 13, and he's come a long way, and that's the future. So
right, it really is. Yeah, all those kids, it's crazy.
You get to live the dream through him now.
Yeah, right. Vicariously.
To watch all the cool stuff that he does.
Yeah, right. I'll be your manager. Just take me along.
I mean, and to be fair, and props to you, but I mean, he's such a great kid. He's such a nice kid. He's so respectful every time all of us are around. And I mean, as a parent, that's got to feel just as good as seeing him be successful on the course.
Oh, for sure. Appreciate that very much. Well, yeah, well, we will leave on the great words toward my son, Broston, but I wish you all the best. And yeah, we will cross paths again.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Take care, Scott.
Thank you for watching or listening to The MindSide, Episode 7. Up next, on Episode 8, we will be joined by Caleb Joyner.